Alright, so hello everyone. Today I will be talking about some useful habits that I think would be helpful for those that are considering pursuing debate as a dedicated extracurricular activity. This video will also probably be helpful for those that are in the middle or the late stages of their career, since I'm sure that all of you didn't really have perfect starts and just adapted to what works best for you as you developed as a speaker and debater. And as I will always emphasize, it's never too late to make tiny changes in your life that can have a massive impact on your performance and physical and mental well being. So let's get right into it for today's video. First, I would recommend having a very minimal but targeted level of news consumption. Here, I am specifically referring to the general news consumption on current events, since I'll make a video another time on matter loading in particular, or even general to a particular theme that you are interested in. This is because you can just search up specific things if you want to read up more on something, anyways. And so, when I'm talking about general news consumption, I'm talking about the information that you take on a daily basis. In the beginning, you might benefit from browsing through a variety of sources, different political leanings, different platforms, whether audio or written, different levels of complexity, etc., etc. But once you have two or three sources of news that you particularly like, and it doesn't have to be the best rated or even the most comprehensive parts of news, it just has to be something that you are interested in and that you can devote your attention to without getting so bored that it feels like a chore. Once you find these sources, then just dedicate even the smallest amount of time in your days to browse over it constantly. So this is what I would call your sensing habit, to get an overall sense of what is going on in the world. The reason as to why I say this should be targeted to these two sources or two or three sources is so that you can deprioritize all other notifications and other sources as much as possible. So you might fall into the fallacy of thinking that because you're subscribed to so many YouTube channels, so many sources of news, that you are able to take in all of this information when that is not the case. So delete all the other applications that you may have. You won't read any of them anyways. So moreover, you will likely be overwhelmed with too many news sources and you won't be able to dedicate any time to one source properly. So, minimal news consumption is my recommendation as one habit. Second, it helps to gradually specialize on one theme or a set of topics that you really find joy in making arguments for. Sometimes this will be something that you already have a pre-existing interest in before debate, and so you can have sort of an advantage in knowing the general stuff. The only challenge is to translate these interests into debate concepts and general models for how things work in the world so that you can make logical arguments instead of just example dumping or just bragging about that this is your major in your college or something like that. Other times, you might have encountered a nice motion that you were interested in. So go leverage and use that motivation to keep reading on these topics. You might even want to try reading one nonfiction book related to this topic. And here, you don't have to remember everything, and you don't even have to read the entire book. You don't have to take it too seriously. Just keep reading and practicing developing your patience and interest into gradually getting into this environment of specific levels of information. Here, actually, I think isolating certain subreddits are nice for these discussion, or even just following certain personalities, newsletters, or blogs that continuously talk about these topics very passionately and comprehensively. YouTube subscriptions and playlists here are good technological tools to leverage this for you as well, so long as you don't fall into the habit of just subscribing to everything, like what I mentioned earlier. And third, it helps to journal only a very few sets of things that are very practical to your self development habit in debate. You should journal the following things. I'm going to talk about three things here. First, the tournaments that you participate in and all of the relevant details from each and every tournament, including your achievements, any nice motions that you would want to use for future training sessions looking back, the number of rounds that you did in this tournament, and any specific moments that you really enjoyed. And add those annotations to your journal entries. And your future self will probably thank you for this. Of course, this is very practical for your CV, right? For your job application in the future, or even just your applications for judging if you might want to use it for your debate career. But it's also very helpful to just document for your memories as well, so that you don't only hold on to just a singular result. Second, you might want to keep a journal for transcribing or note taking or rewriting particular arguments that you have heard from very nice debates or lectures. What I used to do before was watch videos online for fun, and then I would rewatch particular speeches where I found the way a particular argument was phrased to be very compelling, so I could take note of them. Take note of the examples, take note of the reasons that were used, and you can even try improving on them as you try to use them in your own speeches. And thirdly, for particular tournaments that were very important to you, which are usually the majors that you might spend a very long time preparing for, you might want to keep a dedicated journal for skill development or skill improvement for what you are going to be working on in each specific week. And then make a calendar plan based on this. What I used to do before was record some of the speeches I made in these prep trainings so that I could annotate on them and keep personal notes for development purposes as well. The last tip that I'll mention on this video is that it is also very helpful to build your own time management system. Debate is just one of those activities that will consume so much more time than intended. And we really vastly underestimate this when we are committing to the sport early on. It's so easy for more of your time to be consumed case building, participating in training sessions and spars, reading for debate purposes, doing tournaments, and all of that. Your priority should be that you should be exposing yourself to debate only to the extent that you have pre-planned and have decided to do so as part of your overall commitments, and that makes your experience of debate so much healthier most of the time. So it's also helpful to think of debate in terms of seasons. Some periods will be more intense than others and you will experience burnout. Whereas in the off season, we can focus on other areas of development that we can't prioritize in the heat of a tournament. On the micro level, it's also helpful to budget your daily schedules to minimize the amount of time you spend on debate as well. Think of it like any other hobby or activity that you would want to grit out in the next few months or years. Consistent and deliberate practice, self practice here, is almost always better when done in short bursts than in overextended periods because consistency is very helpful. There's probably a lot more to say, but for the purposes of this video, these four components on news consumption, specialization, journaling, and time management are probably some of the most important pillars for sure. So yes, for this video, this is a very short one. Good luck with your debate development journey, and remember these habits will always pay off as long as you keep committing to these systems. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.